At a time when superpowers jockey for advantage, a small Nordic fighter quietly changed the conversation over North American skies. Canada's Gripen tests were supposed to be routine, a quiet evaluation of a foreign jet. No media, no announcements, just a handful of pilots pushing an aircraft through exercises meant to measure its potential. But by the end of the week, whispers reached the Pentagon, and those whispers carried panic. The Gripen E, a jet long underestimated by the world, had done something few expected. It revealed capabilities that challenged the assumptions of the largest air force on the planet. The world of modern fighter aviation is dominated by superpowers. The United States continues to pour billions into stealth and next-generation technology. Russia projects power across Europe and the Arctic, and China accelerates its modernization with each passing year. For Canada, defending its vast territory has never been simple. From the icebound reaches of the Arctic to the sparsely populated expanses of central provinces, every decision about aircraft procurement carries both operational and political weight. Historically, Canada has looked south, buying American fighters as a matter of tradition and alliance. The F-35 seemed inevitable, expensive, yes, but politically safe and technologically dominant. Yet, as any Arctic pilot knows, snowstorms, icy runways, and endless skies demand more than a slide in a corporate presentation. They demand reliability, adaptability, and resilience. When Canada first considered the Gripen E, the reactions ranged from disbelief to outright laughter. Analysts dismissed it as a lightweight European curiosity. Critics called it too small and underpowered for North American defense. Some joked that while Sweden could make excellent furniture, or high-speed trains, dominating the Arctic skies was not in their portfolio. Pilots accustomed to heavy, powerful aircraft expected a learning curve, but they did not expect to be impressed. Many assumed the Gripen would fulfill bureaucratic requirements at best, a token alternative to justify due diligence in a multi-billion-dollar fighter competition. What happened next defied expectations. The test flights began quietly, early in the morning, over Canada's vast northern airspace. Pilots noticed immediately that the Gripen handled differently. It was responsive, intuitive, and remarkably stable. Every control input translated instantly into motion, without resistance, hesitation, or overcorrection. In the Arctic, where temperatures can freeze hydraulics and ice can form on control surfaces in minutes, such responsiveness is not just a convenience, it is survival. The Gripen E did not merely perform, it anticipated, adapting to conditions and supporting the pilot in ways most aircraft cannot. Even more astonishing was the Gripen's electronic warfare suite. While it was, initially thought to be pretty standard, during simulations it actually proved to be extraordinarily capable. Canadian pilots subjected it to radar jamming, sensor spoofing, and coordinated electronic attacks. The Gripen did not just survive these threats, it actually turned them into an advantage. Systems reconfigured in real time, signals were redirected, and enemy simulations were, effectively neutralized. One pilot later remarked, "It felt like the aircraft could see the fight before it even began." This was not magic, it was logic, precision, and clever design built into a machine capable of independent tactical thinking. The Gripen's small size and single-engine design, once considered liabilities, became unexpected strengths. The aircraft can operate from short or improvised airstrips, refuel quickly, and redeploy within just minutes. In the Arctic, where infrastructure is, honestly, pretty sparse, and distances are vast, this capability is priceless. Whereas larger jets rely on sprawling bases and extensive maintenance crews, the Gripen requires minimal support, allowing Canada to cover more territory with fewer resources. Pilots realized that this was not just a fighter. It was a force multiplier, perfectly matched to their operational needs. The turning point came during complex multi-role exercises. The Gripen seamlessly shifted between interception, reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and strike missions all in a single flight. Its data fusion capabilities allowed it to process enormous amounts of information, coordinating simulated drone support and relaying critical information to other assets. Canadian pilots, trained on heavy North American fighters, found themselves, repeatedly surprised by the aircraft's adaptability. It wasn't about raw speed or flashy maneuvers, it was about precision, intelligence, and operational flexibility. This was a jet built not for spectacle, but for effectiveness. By the conclusion of the testing phase, the Gripen had fundamentally altered perceptions. No longer was it a European underdog, it was a validated, operationally effective fighter endorsed by the very pilots who would fly it. This endorsement carried weight far beyond Canada. NATO analysts began recalibrating assumptions. Brazil, already operating Gripen S, found renewed confidence in the jet's capabilities. European partners quietly reassessed the performance of their aging fleets. And across the Atlantic, in the Pentagon, the realization settled in. A small Swedish fighter could perform tasks that even larger, more expensive jets struggled to manage. The report sparked quiet alarm, prompting re-evaluation of assumptions about stealth, cost, and operational effectiveness. The Gripen E's philosophy is as important as its technology. While some modern fighters prioritize stealth, speed, or raw firepower, the Gripen emphasizes adaptability and intelligence. Its systems integrate seamlessly, allowing a single pilot to achieve the effectiveness of a small team. Electronic warfare, targeting, and sensor management are handled in real time, enabling the pilot to focus on tactical decisions rather than fighting the machine. In Canada's Arctic environment, this integration proved decisive. The jet could be flown, maintained and redeployed in conditions that would challenge almost any other aircraft. Its efficiency and resilience transformed skepticism into admiration. Canadian pilots' endorsement of the Gripen E also signaled a broader shift in thinking. Operational effectiveness, it turns out, cannot be measured solely by cost or technological pedigree. In conditions where infrastructure is limited, weather is harsh, and distances are immense, adaptability and intelligent design outweigh flashy features. The Gripen E demonstrated that strategic value comes from matching the machine to the mission, not simply from matching specifications on paper. This realization is now influencing discussions about future acquisitions and defense planning across NATO and allied nations. The aftermath of the Canadian evaluations extends beyond national borders. Countries watching closely are reassessing not just the Gripen, but, broader assumptions about fighter design and procurement, efficiency, rapid deployment, and survivability are gaining prominence over stealth and speed alone. The Gripen E has become a case study in how a smaller, intelligently designed aircraft can really challenge entrenched notions of air superiority. The Pentagon, which once considered the Gripen a minor player, now contemplates scenarios where its operational advantages just can't be ignored. What began as quiet tests in the Arctic has rippled into strategic thinking across continents. In the end, the Gripen's rise in Canada is not about defeating the giants or, rewriting global air power rankings. It is about effectiveness in context. The jet was designed for nations with limited resources but high strategic demands. It was built for environments where survival is paramount and where operational intelligence can outweigh brute force. For Canadian pilots, it offered a combination of reliability, adaptability, and precision that no other aircraft could match under similar conditions. The endorsements from those pilots are not political statements. They are practical acknowledgments of capability, earned in the air, not on paper. By the time the test flights concluded, the Gripen E had accomplished something extraordinary. It earned respect where respect was previously withheld. It demonstrated that small, well-designed, intelligently integrated fighters could perform in conditions that challenge even the most sophisticated air forces. Canada's pilots had backed it, NATO and allied observers were paying attention, and the Pentagon, quietly but unmistakably, recognized that assumptions about air superiority needed reconsideration. The Gripen I had introduced a new variable into global calculations, one that could not be ignored. In the Arctic sky, above frozen tundras and remote airfields, the Gripen E flew not as an underdog, but as a revelation. It proved that intelligence, adaptability, and operational design matter more than size or prestige. It showed that a fighter could succeed where traditional metrics would suggest failure. And in doing so, it reminded the world that in modern air combat, the smartest machine, not necessarily the most expensive or the largest, can change the balance of power. Canada's pilots have spoken through action, not words. The Gripen E is a force to be reckoned with, and in a world of giants, it is often the quiet, intelligent design that stirs the deepest concern.